Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course from New Earth One Network. This is designed exclusively for your higher self connection and embodiment. Welcome, everyone. We are talking with the voice of quantum, the voice of quantum physics, quantum activism, quantum economics, quantum spirituality. Dr. Amit Goswami is here with us, and we're so pleased to welcome you. Welcome, Dr. Goswami. How are you?
Thank you, Lauren. I'm just fine. Glad to be here.
It is wonderful to see how your work has expanded in the world. Quantum is pretty much a household name now, and you have coined so many terms of quantumness, and your work as a PhD, a physicist, actually coined quantum evolution. Can you give us a brief overview of how quantum, what it really means to be quantum, and how it's related to love?
Okay, this is the perfect question to begin the webinar. Quantum, the word originally meant a discrete quantity. The idea was that radiant energy consists of not energy as continuous, but like energy as a bunch of elementary particles. There's the basic building block, in other words. And they're called quantum. That was how it started. Just like elementary particle of matter, there is an elementary particle of energy. That's what a quantum is by definition. But very soon it turned out that quantum objects are mysterious. Why? Because light is radiant energy, sunlight. So radiant energy, light, also well known to be a wave, not just particle. So this began to be called wave-particle duality, and it was discovered that matter is also same way, wave and particle. So how can the same thing be wave and particle? To a layperson, initially it's a bit obscure. So let me explain. Particles, by definition, are localized. They appear one place at a time. Now that I say it, you'll recognize it. But waves, of course, are very different. They appear as a whole crest circle, crest line, or crest sphere. Entire sphere will be places that the wave is, not just one place, but the entire sphere that surrounds my speaking is carrying that same sound wave, right? So waves are very different. They can be in different places at the same time. And then you ask yourself, well, how can that be? That the same object is both wave and a particle. So eventually this led to some understanding, and the understanding is quite simple, actually, if you give up the prejudice that we live in one space-time reality. Because the understanding is that the waves are waves of possibility. They don't reside in space and time. They reside in a domain of potentiality. And then further research showed this domain of potentiality is very peculiar, because if two objects interact in that domain, they become one. What does that mean? That means that the two objects can communicate instantly, whatever that distance is. Now, no two objects can communicate instantly in space and time. So, okay, so this is outside of space and time, so that part is okay. But what does it mean, communicate instantly? we can only communicate with ourselves instantly. So that means that the two objects have become one. So it's a domain of potential oneness, just like mystics have been talking about our consciousness all this time. And when you realize that it takes a conscious observer to collapse the potentiality into actuality, waveness is a potentiality. When it is collapsed, it becomes a particle. So that collapsing is done by choice. The observer is choosing the position in which the electron's wave will appear at one place where the particle appears. So this idea of we choose our own reality came about. Now that, of course, raised some paradoxes, because suppose you and I try to choose a same quantum event, then you will choose one way of that you like, I will choose another way that I like, pandemonium, right? That cannot be. So I solved that problem by suggesting and proving, more than just suggesting, and it was experimentally verified very soon, that this happens because consciousness is the ground of being. We are all connected by the same one consciousness. It's that oneness that the domain of potentiality has as potentiality, and that oneness mediates the interaction between two correlated quantum objects, two entangled quantum objects that have this oneness. So in this way, everything was understood, but one big addition. That big addition changes the worldview, because now it is realized that the elementary particles of matter and energy is not how the world is. These elementary particles of matter and energy are nothing but potentiality until consciousness chooses from the potentiality to make actuality. So it is the consciousness that creates the universe. And so consciousness is the ground of being. It has very much the causal power of creation and everything. And then love is very easy to understand. But it takes a little more detail. Shall I go on? Okay. So the details of love has to do with another ancient concept. I have already gone through one mystical concept, that consciousness is the basic of reality, not matter. And then a second mystical concept is the concept of chakras. We have experiences of feeling, is very real. It's non-physical, but very real. And these experiences happen at places called chakras, all over my body, along the spine. And the traditions say there are 7 of them. Okay, so far? Okay, now the most famous of these chakras is the heart chakra. Not only mystics talk about it, women talk about it a lot too, because they experience sometimes feelings in the heart, although men generally deny it. But ask any woman and she will agree, yeah, there seems to be a heart. So this battle between men and women perception of things have been going on for years, but now there is a solution. Heart is a pump, as men generally insist. And so the heart chakra is dominated by another very important organ in our body called the immune system, which defends us. Defends us meaning what? If the immune system recognizes that something is foreign to the body, like a virus, like a bacteria, or like another person who is trying to intrude in the body of another, that person too, foreign object, so it will have defensive reaction. And we all know, if we see a stranger, we have a defensive reaction. That defensive reaction comes from our immune system's capacity of defending. But here is the thing. If the immune system gives up its defense, can be made to suspend itself, and the person is allowed vulnerability to the other, then the heart changes its physiology. Not only it is a pump, it also is able to be quantum and coherent in its movement. And this quantum coherence, it can actually give us feeling of love. So the defensiveness of the heart chakra has given way to a transformed energy of love. And so this way we explain the phenomenon of love completely, because it is a fact that if people give up that defensiveness and become vulnerable to another, immediately their consciousness expands and the feeling is love, the energies of love. So this way, quantum science is the science of love.
Quantum science is the science of love, and it's what the mystics knew and were teaching all along the way. So this heart chakra is a portal to the quantum field, would you say, to creating our world, creating our reality?
Yes, this the heart chakra, if it is open, then it is able to see every person potentially as a friend. Now, here's the thing, Lauren. I mean, we do have, our ancestors did know how to love. We have forgotten it now, especially, with materialists ruling the roost. We definitely are not even civilized anymore because, their view is love doesn't exist. We are just machines. We are mechanically doing what we are supposed to do the way we have been conditioned. Okay, that's the point of view. But of course, people following that point of view naturally experience a very constricted consciousness. This is generally our lot, very constricted consciousness. Now, what happens with when the people's heart chakra opens, and this just means that be in touch with that love software that is already available in our collective unconscious. We call it romantic love. This is already experienced by many, many people, but there is that entrance requirement. They do have to suspend their defensiveness in the presence of that special person when that feeling of romantic love we fall into. Now, women still have romantic love. Men seldom anymore, but some men do. I, for example, certainly experienced romantic love at the sweet age of 17. I will never forget the incident. And many men and most women do experience these episodes of romantic love because the circuits of software are already there in potentiality in our collective unconscious. So all we have to do is to be a little bit non-local. This strict locality that we usually, strict constriction that we usually have. Once in a while, I'll see a stranger whom I naturally like and lower my defensiveness. He smiles, she smiles, then, there's a connection. That connection is both simultaneously decided to be vulnerable. And both people's heart connected to that collective unconscious. They took a quantum leap, feelings of romantic love, and guess what? HeartMath Institute, this is an institute of research in California. They have measured the coherence of the heart, how the heart becomes coherent when you have this love experience. So it's now scientific, both theory exists, measurement exists, and anyone can love, just one has to tune into the collective unconscious. That does not require too much creativity. This is the important thing. We call it situational creativity. You see a person that you would like to have a relationship with, and you can take the quantum leap and have an experience of vulnerability and romantic love with that person.
So it would seem as we open the heart chakra and we cultivate feelings of love, that our world will change in the collective when everyone gets this and surrenders to love, truly surrenders to love. When you look at what's going on in the world and the divisiveness, how would you suggest that one surrenders to love? We really need to give up a lot of our defenses. Do you see that happening?
Yes, yes. So this is a big challenge indeed. It's probably the biggest challenge before humanity, because I'm talking about romantic love. That's the easiest for people to experience. but there is also altruism, and the mechanism is there. Again, we have the circuits potentially in the collective unconscious. All we have to do is to open the heart. And once again, if you are vulnerable, you can. I had that experience a few years back, and I find it impossible to keep up a barrier of defensiveness against a person. You just cannot not be nice, because it's part of your character to be that open. And what happens then is that you experience expansion of consciousness that brings you, here's the good news, that brings you not only love, but it brings you health and happiness. Because it turns out that if we love, then the immune system will be healthy. You know, this COVID is a very good example. Women suffer 50% less from COVID problem than men. This is data. Why? Because women have more capacity to love than men do. So indeed, people will, and as you know, people are gradually picking up what the import of my work is. And virtually, you know, for the past 30 years, I've more or less been a unique figure, kind of talking about love in the context of science. But things are changing rapidly. As soon as people become intelligent, people become interested in quantum physics, try to really understand the implication of what non-locality means, that our feelings are real, they're quantum energies, non-physical to be sure, but we have to accept, thanks to quantum physics, that non-physical can exist as well as physical, because consciousness is the ground of all being, and it can process both physical and non-physical. If we are not tied to matter being the only thing, physical being the only thing. So if one can give up that very short-sighted lens to look with, then one discovers very quickly that I have reinvented, rediscovered a re-enchanted world where everything can be connected. And as I said, I will be more healthy, I will be more happy, and eventually I will also be more prosperous in a sense, if that happens. So that's why people will change. People will change because we have personal gains as well as gain for the whole world. It's not like old-fashioned spirituality where you literally sacrifice. No, no sacrifice is involved. You get something too.
Hallelujah. Well, again, it's so fascinating and encouraging that this is the love, this is the science of love, the science of love. And our feelings are real. And so as we open the heart chakra, you are doing amazing work with your research and the books that you've written, because people who are listening to this now do indeed get it. And they themselves are taking this information out, helping others get it. So this is an amazing ripple effect, and it really truly shows the oneness. I love how you said the wiring, the circuits for this heart love are already there. We just have to open to it and reach for it. So beautiful. I mean, I feel elated knowing this information. It's as simple as opening the heart. Now, let's talk about how we open the heart while we talk about the quantum brain, because the two are connected. You're going to be teaching a course with us, an online course. So tell us a little bit more about the quantum brain and how we open the heart chakra to love.
Okay. The good news, there are so many pieces of good news. The good news is that the brain does have connection with the organ heart, and in general the organs of the heart chakra, namely immune system as well as the physical heart. So if we think, that thinking can affect the immune system. You see what I mean? So I can think of somebody I love, and then automatically that love thinking will release my immune system from its defensiveness. The immune system will be temporarily suspended. This is called meditation on love. So I hold on to that, start meditating on the heart chakra, okay? And as I meditate on the heart chakra, this is the tricky part. You cannot predict. However, if you get that, amplify that feeling of vulnerability, then sooner or later, you fall into love. It happens in a very natural way, but you need to learn to relax. Okay, if this is too much for people, I have another very simple method, which is also a little risque because it involves sex, which is an explosive subject for some people. At sex, what happens to most people, most men really, women have some familiarity with love, and you will notice, being a woman yourself, that generally speaking, women after sexual orgasms are reached, they would like to cuddle for a while because they'd like to feel that glow of love that they're feeling. Now, men, on the other hand, don't feel that glow of love by itself because they're defensive. No, their defensiveness seldom drops. They do sex only for the pleasure of it. And the pleasures are very real. The molecules of emotion, oxytocin and dopamine, they're very real. So brain is dancing with these wonderful molecules and hormones in the body. So we are indeed in ecstasy while orgasm is happening. But after the orgasm, the molecules gradually subside and that stops. And the man usually turns over and goes to sleep. Because when the dopamine stops, then another molecule comes out in the brain called serotonin. And this is the sleep-inducing molecule. So the men have the tendency of turnover and go to sleep, whereas the women are frustrated because they would like to cuddle. Now, if men can be trained by saying that, look, honey, if you cuddle me and wait, don't go to sleep immediately, but pay attention to the process, then you will have a wonderful experience. So if the guy is convinced and willing to experiment, then he doesn't turn over after the orgasm. Instead, he starts cuddling his partner. And what happens is that the energy of sex is in the sex chakra. It's the second chakra from the root, which is the bottom of the anus. So sex chakra is right at the sex organs. Most people feel some energy there when they're having sex. So that energy, sexual energy, which Freud called libido because it rises, the sexual energy now, instead of rising to the navel chakra, which is the man's strong chakra, starts rising in the heart chakra, where that's man's weak chakra. But now it can rise because the man has agreed to be vulnerable. So a feeling of vulnerability comes over the man, and this is why men generally avoid it, because they know that this happens, and they want to avoid it because they don't want to be vulnerable. But this is a person they already love. So they are already admitted that, yes, there is some once in a while vulnerability that I have to allow for, because it happens once in a while unbeknownst to the man. Nobody can be that isolated. Sorry, some people are, but generally, people allow that a little bit of vulnerability to the spouses or partners. So that is the thing. If the woman persists that, please cuddle me, don't go to sleep, then sooner or later, if the man seriously concedes and does stay with it and does cuddle, then the energy does rise to the heart, and the heart becomes quantum, immune system suspends itself, and he would participate in that wonderful non-local love with the partner. This is the easiest way of experiencing romance or love in the heart. easiest way of opening the heart. If you are already of sexual age and have a partner that you would like to love, although men generally pretend that they love, but their love is the brain love, not really heart love. But this is the surefire way of getting to heart love. I know because I was a brain lover and then I became a heart lover because of my wife's insistence.
Beautiful. A brain lover to a heart lover. So cuddle your partners, everyone. Cuddle your partners. Beautiful way that we can meditate to open the heart chakra or just use something that's currently in our world. Thank you so much for that. So, as we're talking about the quantum brain, what is the quantum brain?
So for the brain, on the other hand, you have to be a little more patient before the quantum brain is realized. So quantum brain, it is the brow chakra. This is the between the two eyebrows. Here is the chakra point. This is called the brow chakra. This is the perhaps the most important chakra for our exploring higher needs like love. So heart opening is the first step that everyone should do because this one facilitates everything. But the next challenge is to raise the energy to the brow chakra and raise the energy in this new way, not raise the energy that automatically sublimates. Intellectuals do that a lot and sublimates to the sexual energy. For example, for intellectuals, they're often horny but cannot express it, and therefore the energy gets blocked and gradually, what is called slippage. If there is slippage and it just rises to the brow chakra by slippage. This is what Freud meant by sublimation. And when the sexual energy goes to brow chakra and brow chakra has the experience of sublimation, then the energy is transformed into libido. This is why he gave a separate name, libido. So if you can transform your sexual energy to libido, then you can be creative. Outer creativity for sure, but all people, we would name one, and I'll tell you a horny person. Einstein was one. Many, many people. I certainly. So very sexually charged up, and the energy always goes into the brow chakra because this is what we learn, and therefore we are always finding energy in the brow chakra to be creative. That's where the creative energy comes from, really. So that is the mystery. If you have to learn to sublimate the energy and then be not attached to intellectualism. Intellectualism is the idea that you solve everything by rational thinking. Instead, when the energy comes, you go through the creative process. This is also part of quantum science. Creative process, how is it different than just thinking? You not only you think, you also practice relaxation. Alternative focused thinking, alternative relaxation. I call it doobie-doobie-doo, that Frank Sinatra jingle. So if you do that doobie-doobie-doo, then brain becomes quantum. Okay, this is the fantastic thing that happens. Brain becomes quantum, brain becomes coherent, and in that coherent state, it can just do so much more. It can take us to new explorations of new archetypes, abstract archetypes like truth, like justice, like wholeness. So it's a fantastic thing that when that happens. People do not know what they're doing, how much they're missing with the Newtonian brain. Because, okay, brain is a marvelous instrument. We constantly hear it. But the brain also is an instrument which has these negative emotional circuits in the midbrain. And we all, our brain is 80% of the time, the brain is negative. Only the 20% of the time it can be positive, and even that with the help of the body, like the heart chakra and the navel chakra. So the brain is really not so good if it is Newtonian. But if you take that quantum leap to wake up your quantum brain, and the way to do it is not very hard, because this time meditation in the way that people practice it works. And so by meditating and then alternating that with relaxation, you can actually realize states of consciousness which are expandable, expanded, and in that expanded state, you can explore the difficult archetypes like truth, justice, and wholeness. So the heart is good for the archetype of love and goodness. The navel is also good for archetype of power and abundance. But the archetype that is really, really hard, okay, the heart also we can experience beauty in the heart chakra. But then those hard archetypes, truth, justice, and wholeness, they're more abstract. And for that, we need the brow chakra. So we need the quantum brain to get into that. If whoever are listening, if you read the book Quantum Brain, all this is explained in much more detail. How to meditate, how to get into the pre-conscious, and how we take the quantum leaps, and all that.
Yes, how we truly wake up our quantum brain. So the archetypes of truth and justice, we can work with that. We can contemplate that. We can attune to that and feel what that's like. All right, beautiful. So you do have your book, The Quantum Brain, and that really is the basis for our upcoming course that we're going to have with you. And we'll learn some of those techniques from you directly. Can you share any more about what we'll go over in that workshop?
Well, it will be, of course, the basic worldview and how love enters, how the archetypes enter, meaning and purpose enters our lives, and all this is, we have to quantumize both the body and the brain, but especially the brain, because that's where most people are most of the time. And, you know, I must say that I'm quite aware of the fact that many women today, like the political women, they're all very much into their head. They are not particularly heart-oriented. In heart, we can never, for example, talk lie. We cannot lie. Heart cannot lie. And look at today's politicians. They all are big liars. So you can be sure of one thing. They don't know what the heart is about. So men and women, if they learn to activate quantum brain, realize that, look, we really are not Newtonian machines. We really are human beings with lots of possibilities of experience that, yes, we choose. We can choose between love and defensiveness. We can choose between fear and love. We can choose between negative emotions and positive emotions. And then we would like to change the brain to the real choosing. Why keep into the little bit of freedom that the brain allows, namely a conditioned spectrum of choices? Which flavor of ice cream would you like? Yes, we can choose that. I don't have to take chocolate every day. I can once in a while try even licorice ice cream. But why stop with that? People talk about freedom, both Democrats and Republicans in America talk about freedom constantly. But freedom, what is freedom? Freedom is between choosing a dictator or choosing socialism. That is the freedom. That is the kind of freedom they talk about. Either vote for us or vote for that. What kind of a choice is that? Can I vote for Jeffersonian participatory democracy? Can I vote for that one? Now, who will support a person that way today among the politicians? But we do have the choice. We can take over. After all, it is a democracy. As the legal system, they can keep the political system in check. So it is both politically important, economically important. Every social institution today has no choice but to choose between either you choose this or that. Very small choices, both conditioned choices. So we choose this, and 4 years later we choose that, but it's all one side of shit versus the other side of shit. The shittiness never changes of our political system or social system. It's always either science or religion, either science or religion. You come back this one or that. But quantum physics integrates both. Why do we have to do that? If we don't do that, then we can really go back to the ideals that the founding fathers of America saw it so clearly, and other places in the world. India, for example, recognized it 7,000 years ago. Middle East, with Jesus's work, 2,000 years ago. In China, 3,000 years ago. Native Americans probably realized, again, thousands of years ago. So we have the system, we have the software built by our ancestors. All we have to do is to tune in. And the way to tune in is to activate the quantum brain. And that's what we'll teach, how to activate the quantum brain.
Beautiful, because there are many people who are ready for this, and it's where we go quantum and we create that way. We're all who are watching and listening are trailblazers on this, and we are on a mission to get this out and carry on your work and your findings. It's beautiful that the science is there to back it. And we, the people, and the heart-centered ones who are activating this quantum brain, will create the demand for better heart-centered, love-based politicians, where we'll no longer tolerate. I do see that we will reach a point where there will be no more toleration of behavior that's not aligned in this way. Would you agree? Do you see that happening?
You put it so beautifully. Look at politicians generally explore the archetype of power. Yes, power is very important, but democracy means that you do not seek power for yourself. You seek power to empower your electorate, the people who elected you. That's what representative democracy means. Unfortunately, politicians today have very closed heart chakra. They do not know how to mix love with power, and therefore they only seek their personal power. How can that change? This is why when women's lib movement happened, people were constantly talking about the leaders then, Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem. They were all talking about love, 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 and love, women's values. Where are they? I mean, the point is it never happened. The women co-opted to the men's ways and gave up love and became centered in power. So if that changes, and this is a big if, you cannot mention one politician in Washington who is into love. One politician tried. Marianne Williamson actually ran for the Democratic nomination, but she never got anywhere. But still 2% of people recognized her. So things are changing a little bit. Now, if people like Marianne Williamson gets elected, let's say, in elective offices, suppose it is possible to elect a senator like that, a congressman like that. Imagine the impact of it. Imagine the impact of it. Power, not for myself, but for empowering people that I represent. This is the idea of democracy.
Yes.
So our world will change almost right away.
Almost right away. And this is economically, politically, and it helps our planet. You have helped us see that we are actually closer than we think, because it can change quickly. And this is why we like that phrase, surrender to love. In a way, people could get so exhausted by current collective conditions that they just instantly open to love in that way. Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yes, it would be. And as you said, we can only look forward. People are recognizing that we are as nasty as can be, and there's a limit to nastiness. There's no sense in being more nasty to each other, that we cannot even smile at each other anymore. We cannot even exchange greetings anymore. We become downright hostile to the people who serve us. This is not America. This is not the world we were born in. So why have we created this world in the last 40 years? Because of this worldview polarization. So as soon as the worldview is integrated, the message of quantum physics goes through that, yes, it's just a distorted lens that we are wearing. And for nothing, the gain has been very, very little. In fact, we have gone backwards. Everybody knows that the world is being destroyed, the civilization being destroyed. We talk about global warming constantly. The connoisseurs know that the world is not going to last very long if we continue this path. And we got to take charge, the people. And we have the system already. Democracy, not socialism, not dictatorship, but democracy, participatory democracy. Capitalism, which empowers the middle class. Again, power, abundance with love. Politics, quantum politics is power with love. Quantum economics is abundance with love. Share your prosperity.
Yes.
So, these are the kind of thing that more and more people are listening. I know of actual business people who are not doing their business anymore for becoming filthy rich, like our billionaires who go to outer space for nothing. But instead, they want to empower people, create more middle class participation in the capital formation and investment, new entrepreneurship in energy sensitive, in energy, green economy, and more spiritual economy, as I have suggested in the book Quantum Economics. So things are ready to change. The crisis is a sign of an opportunity that will eventually change the world for the better. But we have to collectively act to actually do it.
Yes. Beautiful words, beautiful inspiration. It's why we are all here. And we know that truly within our hearts. And like I said, everyone watching and listening is on that mission. Thank you. All right. So, for those who want to activate the quantum brain, we invite you to this upcoming workshop. It's available right here on this webpage. And Dr. Goswami, thank you, thank you, thank you for this heart centered information. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorette.